When you hear the name Pythagoras, the first thing that likely comes to mind is the Pythagorean theorem, that famous equation we all learned in school. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. It's simple, it's mathematical, and it seems like just another basic concept from ancient geometry. But what if I told you that Pythagoras was much more than a mathematician? What if I told you that behind the numbers, behind the formulas, there was a man who believed that the entire universe was built upon the harmony of numbers, of music, of the soul? You see, Pythagoras was not just a scholar. He was a philosopher, a mystic, and to some, even a prophet. He founded a secretive spiritual movement that combined science, religion, philosophy, and ethics, a movement that believed the key to understanding the cosmos was hidden within the patterns of nature, within sound, within shapes, and even within our own minds. He and his followers practiced silence, discipline, and ritual. They lived together in communities, followed strict moral rules, and devoted their lives to uncovering the hidden structure of the universe. They saw numbers not as mere symbols, but as sacred forces that revealed the truth about reality. But why were these teachings kept hidden? Why was this knowledge passed down only to the initiated? And what exactly did Pythagoras teach that was so powerful, so transformative, that it had to be protected in secrecy? In this video, we're going to dive deep into the secret teachings of Pythagoras. We'll explore the mystical ideas that shaped his worldview, the ancient knowledge that inspired generations of thinkers, and the hidden wisdom that still influences our world today. So take a deep breath, clear your mind, and prepare to look at Pythagoras in a way you've never seen before, because what you're about to discover is not just a lesson in history, it's a journey into the heart of ancient truth. Are you ready to begin? To truly understand the secret teachings of Pythagoras, we must first understand the man himself, because Pythagoras was no ordinary philosopher. He was a man surrounded by legend, mystery, and deep reverence, born around 570 BCE on the island of Samos, off the coast of present-day Turkey. He lived in a world where science, spirituality, and philosophy were not separated like they are today. For Pythagoras, they were one and the same. From a young age, he showed signs of extraordinary intelligence and curiosity. He traveled far and wide in search of wisdom. It is said that he spent years in Egypt studying with the priests, learning sacred geometry and astronomy. He may have even traveled to Babylon, where he encountered Chaldean mysticism and numerical knowledge that deeply influenced his thinking. He was not just gathering knowledge, he was undergoing a kind of spiritual training, preparing himself for something greater. When Pythagoras returned to the Greek world, he eventually settled in a city called Croton, located in southern Italy. It was there that he established his famous school. But this was no ordinary school. It was a philosophical and spiritual brotherhood known as the Pythagorean order. Its members followed strict rules, lived communally, and devoted their lives to truth, harmony, and self-mastery. They practiced silence, sometimes for years. They believed that speaking without wisdom was dangerous. They followed a vegetarian diet, avoided certain types of food like beans, and lived by ethical codes that emphasized purity of mind, body, and soul. To join the inner circle of the Pythagoreans, a student had to go through a long period of testing, training, and purification. Only then could they be initiated into the deeper, more mystical teachings. But Pythagoras was not just a teacher of rules and rituals. He was a seeker of universal patterns. He believed that numbers were the language of the cosmos, and that through studying numbers and their relationships, we could unlock the secrets of the universe itself. He saw music, geometry, astronomy, and mathematics as deeply interconnected, not just intellectually, but spiritually. His followers called him a divine man. Some believed he had a golden thigh, others said he could hear the music of the stars, and some even claimed that he could remember his past lives, whether these are myths or metaphors. They reveal how deeply people respected and even revered him, not just as a thinker, but as a guide to higher wisdom. While most of us were introduced to Pythagoras through a simple geometric formula, in truth, he was a revolutionary thinker who merged logic and mysticism into one grand vision of life. He stood at the intersection of reason and revelation, of mathematics and mystery, and that is why his legacy has endured for more than 2,000 years. Understanding who Pythagoras truly was is the first step, because his life itself was a message, a path, and perhaps even a map to higher understanding. Now that we know the man, we are ready to uncover the core beliefs of the brotherhood he founded, and the sacred ideas they lived by. Are you ready to go deeper? Now that we have a deeper understanding of who Pythagoras was, it's time to explore the brotherhood he created, a unique and mysterious community that lived according to teachings far beyond what was common in their time. The Pythagorean Brotherhood was more than a school. It was a way of life, a spiritual path, a sacred order where knowledge was not just studied, but lived. Those who joined the Brotherhood made a serious commitment. They were not just learning about numbers or geometry. They were entering into a life of transformation, purification, and inner discipline. Members took vows of silence, some lasting months, others years. They believed that speech had power, and that silence was a path to self-mastery. By learning to be quiet, one could begin to hear the deeper truths that lie beneath the noise of the world. The Pythagoreans also practiced strict ethical codes. They avoided eating meat and followed a vegetarian diet, not just for health, but because they believed all life was sacred. They held the belief in metempsychosis, the idea that the soul is immortal and reincarnates through different lifetimes, not just as humans, but sometimes as animals. And because of this, killing animals and consuming them was considered spiritually harmful. By living with compassion and simplicity, they believed the soul could be purified and elevated. But their beliefs did not end with diet or discipline. They saw the entire universe as a reflection of deeper harmony. For the Pythagoreans, numbers were divine. They were not mere tools of calculation. They were spiritual symbols, expressions of cosmic truth. Everything in nature could be understood through numbers. And those numbers had qualities, not just quantities. They revered the number one, the monad, as the source of all things, the symbol of unity, the beginning of creation. The number two represented duality, separation, the birth of contrast, male and female, light and darkness. The number three was seen as the number of harmony, the balance between opposites. The number four represented structure, stability, the physical world, and the sacred number 10, formed by the sum of 1 through 4, was viewed as the most perfect number of all. This belief in sacred numbers led them to create the symbol of the tetractys, a triangle made of 10 dots arranged in 4 rows. To the Pythagoreans, this shape was a representation of the divine order. It symbolized the harmony of the universe, and members would swear oaths upon it, treating it as a sacred icon. Music was also deeply sacred to them. They discovered that musical harmony could be expressed in precise numerical ratios. And they believed that the same principles that created beautiful music also governed the movement of the planets, the stars, and even the soul. They spoke of the harmony of the spheres, an invisible music created by the orbit of celestial bodies, a divine song that the soul could hear only in moments of deep stillness and clarity. Their community was based on equality and mutual respect. Women were welcomed into the brotherhood, which was rare in ancient times. They studied together, meditated together, and pursued the path of wisdom as one unified body. Their goal was not just knowledge, but transformation, the elevation of the soul through discipline, truth, and inner harmony. To be a Pythagorean was to live a life of constant refinement, of seeking purity in thought, word, and deed. They saw the human being as a microcosm of the universe, and by aligning themselves with the laws of nature, they believed they could find true happiness. Aught through pleasure, but through balance and understanding. Their beliefs may seem strange to the modern mind, but they were rooted in a deep desire to uncover the hidden structure of life, to live in tune with something higher, something eternal, and something sacred. And now that we've stepped into the world of the Pythagorean Brotherhood, it's time to go even deeper, into the core of their most secret and mystical teachings. Are you ready to unlock the esoteric wisdom that lay at the heart of their path? Now that we have stepped into the world of the Pythagorean Brotherhood and their way of life, let us go deeper into the heart of their path, into the sacred and hidden teachings that were passed down only to the initiated. These esoteric teachings were not written in books or shared with the public. They were whispered in silence, guarded by oaths, and transmitted only to those who had proven themselves worthy through years of discipline and purification. At the center of the Pythagorean worldview was the idea that the universe is built on harmony and order, not chaos and randomness. They believed that beneath the changing surface of reality, there exists a perfect structure, a divine architecture. And that structure could be revealed through the study of number, proportion, and form. The outer world was just a mirror of deeper laws, and by understanding those laws, one could align with the divine. One of the most powerful of these teachings was the concept of the monad, the one, the source of all existence. The Pythagoreans taught that everything begins from unity, from pure being, and from this unity came duality, then multiplicity, then the entire visible world. They did not see numbers as just abstract ideas. They saw them as living principles, spiritual forces that shaped reality itself. In this mystical view, the number 3 was sacred. It represented the triad of mind, soul, and body. It symbolized the harmony of opposites with a unifying third, like father, mother, and child, or birth, life, and death. The number 4 represented the material world, the 4 elements of earth, water, air, and fire. And when you add 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, you get 10, the sacred number known as the tetractys. To meditate on the tetractys was to contemplate the very structure of reality. The Pythagoreans also believed that the soul is immortal, and that it moves through cycles of rebirth. Each life was seen as an opportunity to grow in wisdom and to purify the soul through discipline, compassion, and self-knowledge. They taught that the soul carries with it the weight of past actions, and that liberation comes through understanding and living in harmony with the cosmic order. They practiced sacred geometry, believing that shapes like the triangle, the square, and the pentagon held spiritual meaning. Each form reflected a deeper truth about the universe and the soul. For example, the triangle symbolized aspiration, the upward movement toward the divine. The square stood for stability and justice, the foundation upon which a life of virtue could be built. They also studied the power of vibration and sound, and they taught that every object, every soul, and every star had its own vibration, its own frequency. When these frequencies are in balance, there is health, peace, and clarity. When they fall out of harmony, there is confusion, illness, and suffering. The use of music was not just for entertainment. It was medicine for the soul, a way to bring the self back into alignment with the deeper rhythms of life. The Pythagoreans believed that true knowledge was not something learned from others, but something remembered. They taught that the soul already knows all things because it has lived many lives and has touched the eternal. The role of the teacher was to awaken the memory of truth within the student, not to impose it from the outside. One of their most mysterious ideas was that the universe is a great living being, animated by a divine intelligence, and that this intelligence can be known through contemplation, through purity of heart, and through the pursuit of virtue. They believed that the highest goal of life was not wealth or fame or pleasure, but the perfection of the soul, to become like the divine, to embody wisdom, justice, courage, and harmony in every part of one's being. These teachings were not meant for the masses. They were sacred, and they were protected because of their power. Pythagoras warned that when sacred truths are revealed to those who are not prepared, they can be misunderstood, distorted, or even used for harm. And so, the Pythagorean path was a quiet one, walked by those who were willing to sacrifice comfort for clarity, who chose discipline over distraction, and who sought not only to understand the cosmos, but to become one with it. Now that we have uncovered the heart of the Pythagorean mysteries, let us explore the legacy of these teachings and how they continue to influence our world even to this day. As we leave behind the inner world of the Pythagorean mysteries, we begin to see how the ideas of Pythagoras did not stay hidden in the shadows of his secret brotherhood. They echoed through time, shaping the course of philosophy, religion, science, and spiritual traditions in ways far deeper than most people realize today. Pythagoras was not just a mathematician or a mystic. He was a bridge between the worlds of reason and spirit, logic and intuitio, the rational mind and the divine soul. His teachings inspired some of the greatest thinkers of all time, and his influence reached far beyond the boundaries of his own community. One of the clearest examples of his impact can be found in the work of Plato, the famous philosopher of ancient Greece. Plato was deeply inspired by the Pythagorean belief that the world we see is just a reflection of a higher reality, a world of pure forms or ideas. This idea formed the foundation of Platonic philosophy, the belief that truth, beauty, and goodness are eternal realities that the soul remembers and seeks to return to. Plato also adopted the Pythagorean view of the soul as immortal and capable of remembering divine knowledge. He saw philosophy not as a profession, but as a path of purification, a way to prepare the soul for its return to the divine. In this way, the Pythagorean spirit lived on in the very heart of Western thought. Later, in the time of the Roman Empire, the ideas of Pythagoras were kept alive by the Neoplatonists, especially the philosopher Plotinus, who believed that all things flow from a single source, the One, and that the soul's highest purpose is to return to that source through contemplation and inner discipline. This mirrored the Pythagorean journey of returning to unity through harmony and virtue. But the influence of Pythagoras was not limited to philosophers. It reached deeply into religious and mystical traditions as well. In the early Christian world, many thinkers such as Augustine and Origen were shaped by Neoplatonic and Pythagorean ideas. They saw the soul's journey through life as a process of learning, purification, and eventual reunion with God, and they embraced the idea that divine truth could be found not only through faith, but through reason, order, and inner harmony. In the East, some scholars have noted parallels between Pythagorean ideas and ancient Indian thought, especially the concept of the soul's reincarnation and the use of sound and vibration in spiritual practice. While there is no direct connection, the similarities suggest that the Pythagoreans were tapping into a universal current of truth that transcends time and culture. During the Renaissance, Pythagoras returned to the center of European thought once again. Artists, architects, and scientists like Leonardo da Vinci and Johannes Kepler studied his teachings on proportion, harmony, and geometry, believing that the same divine principles that governed music and mathematics could guide the creation of beauty and knowledge in all areas of life. Even in the modern world, echoes of Pythagoras can be found in fields like quantum physics, sacred geometry, meditation, and holistic healing, the idea that vibration and frequency shape reality, that the universe is a vast interconnected web of order and energy, and that the soul grows through harmony and alignment. These are not just scientific theories or spiritual beliefs. They are ancient truths that Pythagoras helped reveal to the world. Perhaps his greatest legacy is not a formula or a philosophy, but a vision, a way of seeing life as sacred, structured, and filled with purpose. He taught us that the universe is not random but intelligent, that numbers are not just tools but symbols of deeper realities, and that the journey of the soul is not about escaping the world, but understanding it, living in tune with it, and remembering who we truly are. As we reflect on his influence, we begin to understand that Pythagoras was not just a man of his time. He was a messenger of something timeless, something eternal, and something still alive within us today. Now, as we move toward the end of this journey, let us gather the wisdom we've explored and consider what it truly means to live the Pythagorean path in our modern world. As we step back and look at the teachings of Pythagoras with fresh eyes, we begin to understand that these ideas are not just fragments of ancient wisdom buried in history books. They are living principles that speak directly to the challenges of modern life. In a world that often feels chaotic, disconnected, and driven by material gain, the message of Pythagoras is like a quiet voice calling us to remember what truly matters. Pythagoras taught that everything is connected by harmony, that numbers are not just tools for counting, but keys to understanding the deeper structure of the universe. When we apply this idea today, we begin to see that our thoughts, our choices, our actions, and even our emotions carry a kind of frequency. They create ripples in the world around us, just like vibrations in music. And when we live in a state of disorder or imbalance, our inner world becomes dissonant. But when we align ourselves with truth, with virtue, with higher values, we begin to experience peace, clarity, and meaning. In our fast-paced society, where people are constantly searching for success, validation, and distraction, the teachings of Pythagoras invite us to slow down and turn inward. They remind us that the soul is not nourished by noise or consumption, but by quiet reflection, discipline, and harmony. He believed in the purification of the soul, not through external rituals, but through daily practice, through self-awareness, and through a commitment to living with wisdom. The concept of the soul's journey, of reincarnation and growth through lifetimes, may seem distant to some, but at its heart is a message that resonates with anyone who seeks to grow, to learn, and to evolve. Pythagoras taught that life is a classroom, and that each experience, each challenge, is a lesson in the great curriculum of the soul. And if we listen deeply, if we pay attention, we can begin to understand the meaning behind the patterns of our lives. His teachings also remind us of the sacredness of nature, of the universe as a living system of intelligence and order, in a time where the environment is under threat and technology often separates us from the rhythms of the earth. The Pythagorean worldview urges us to reconnect, to see beauty in the stars, in the seasons, in the music of the natural world. He believed that by observing nature, by studying its harmony, we could find harmony within ourselves. Even in the realm of science and innovation, the wisdom of Pythagoras still whispers through the discoveries of today, whether it's in the study of quantum physics, where particles behave like waves and vibration plays a central role, or in the exploration of sound healing, meditation, and consciousness. We find again and again that the ancient idea of frequency and balance holds profound relevance. Perhaps most importantly, the teachings of Pythagoras offer us a moral compass, a way to live with integrity, purpose, and inner clarity. He believed that true wisdom was not just about knowing, but about becoming, about living in such a way that the soul moves closer to the divine. In a world where values often seem lost or confused, his teachings bring us back to something simple, yet powerful. Live with virtue, seek truth, listen to the inner voice, and honor the harmony within and around you. So yes, these teachings still matter, not because they are old, but because they are eternal, not because they belong to the past, but because they can guide us into a better future, a future where wisdom and science walk hand in hand, where spirit and reason support each other, and where every soul is invited to awaken, to remember, and to return home to itself. As we come to the end of this journey into the secret teachings of Pythagoras, take a moment to reflect on what you've heard. These ancient truths are not just echoes from a distant past. They are signposts for anyone who seeks meaning, clarity, and alignment in life. Pythagoras did not just teach mathematics or philosophy. He offered a path, a way of living that brings harmony to the mind, balance to the heart, and peace to the soul. If something in this video sparked curiosity in you, if you felt a quiet pull within, then maybe it is time to explore deeper, to ask bigger questions, to reconnect with the wisdom already living inside you. Because the teachings of Pythagoras are not meant to be memorized. They are meant to be lived. So if you found value in this message, consider subscribing to this channel. Join us as we continue to uncover ancient wisdom for modern times. Like this video if it resonated with you, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. And in the comments below, tell us which part of Pythagoras' teachings spoke to you the most. Thank you for being here, for listening with an open heart, and for walking this path of self-discovery. Until next time, keep seeking, keep learning, and remember, harmony is not something you find, it is something you create with thee.